side, you must keep doing your work. And the best part is that I'm getting a lot of pictures mailed to me about their work which children are doing. And yesterday, when I had taken up an activity in one section, I got wonderful pictures which they had drawn in my session about listen and draw. So it was really very heartening, children, and a great motivation too for us as teachers. That when you send your work, you show us that you are with us in this entire process of the online session. It is really so very heartening, and motivation also, a great motivation we get from all this. So I know that you have been online, but you hardly get three classes at the most per day, and you must not miss out on your classes. Try to recognize the efforts of the teachers as well. And that is by coming to the class and listening to our sessions. We may not be sitting here face to face today and talking to each other directly, but this is also a way when we are interacting with you, and through your mails, you can interact with us, right? So the entire process of interaction will be complete then. This is our way of interacting with you, and your way of interacting with us is through your mails. So I look forward to your mails where you are sending me the pictures of all the previous lessons which you have done, and I'm sure you are going to send me your mails. Yes. I hope I'm audible to all of you, and I'll start with our lesson. Today, I have a wonderful quote for all of you children. Let's read this. What does today's quote says? Love has within it a redemptive power, and there is a power there that eventually transforms individuals. Just keep being friendly to that person. Just keep loving them, and they can't stand it too long. Oh, we react in many ways in the beginning. Yes, they react with guilt feelings, and sometimes they'll hate you a little more at that transition period, but just keep loving them. And by the power of your love, they'll break down under the load of the love. That's love, you see. It is redemptive. The famous lines from Martin Luther King Jr. Now, love has got that power to fight out and to completely change a person. It can do wonders. Love is that power. It has that power within it. And redemption is to redeem oneself from all, to rise above your wrongdoings and to change and transform yourself. Such is the power of the love. And we can win so many wars. Our country, our nation has been an evidence to it. Mahatma Gandhi won this war against the Britishers in a non-violent way, right? So love has that power, children. We should not do a tit for tat. We have to find other ways to resolve our issues with each other, right? If you remember, you all have read the famous play, The Bishop's Candlesticks, how the bishop was able to bring about a change in the convict. How the bishop, initially the convict was very annoyed with the bishop. He threatened him with a knife, and he said, I'm going to kill you. He also said, I'm going to kill your sister, Pasom. And, he was completely annoyed with him. But the bishop knew that at present the convict is a little sick in his mind, and gradually he will reform himself. And you know the story, how he was gradually able to reform himself. He developed that trust in the bishop, and how he completely changed. And before the bishop went to the extent of even helping him, hiding him in his house and telling the police that he is not with me and I don't know him. A lie for a good cause cannot be a lie, right? So the convict was surprised. How is it that here I was killing the bishop and here the bishop has saved me? He also gives him some money that you go and start a new life. Go to Paris and start a new life. And he comes back to the bishop seeks for his blessings before he leaves for Paris. So this was all because the bishop he understood the convict so well, right? He understood that the convict had had a very, very miserable life, which nobody understood. Neither the cops understood, nor the law understood, nobody understood. But the bishop was able to understand that. And that is the reason he could bring about a change in the convict. And that is how he could transform the life of the convict. So love has that redemptive power. So you must be wondering, why is man discussing this today? Because our lesson is going to be on this, about the power of love and the redemption which goes with it, right? We are going to talk about The Rat Trap by Selma Lagerlof. And you know what a trap is, how we put a bait inside the trap and we trap the rats. We human beings are also like this. We get trapped by different baits. The baits can be different things. It can be different materialistic things around us. We get easily entrapped in all those things, and how we start going astray. Let's see. Well, before we come to the lesson, we must know about the author so that we can understand what made the author to write this story. What has she observed around her to write this kind of a lesson? So she was a Swedish writer living in Sweden. So she's a Swedish writer whose stories have been translated into many languages. She has also won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1909, long, long back, children. And in appreciation of the lofty idealism, lofty, the huge, she had that idealistic approach. What is an idealistic approach? I'll come back to it. Vivid imagination and spiritual perception that characterize her writings has made her to stand so tall in the field of literature. Now, lofty idealism, why I say this is because, as young children, you all are very warm-blooded and you feel that, an answer should be, if somebody answers you back, you need to hit the nail there and then. But that's not the way life goes on. We have to deal things in a different way. There cannot be one rule for everything. So she had that lofty idealistic approach, and she believed so much in love. Her writings have been, this is an idealistic approach of dealing things in a very ideal manner, which you may not find to be practically very true. Practically, you may find it is impossible and it is difficult to practice. But yes, children, these are actually the real practices of life. If we do that, life would be so much, very much smooth for all of us, right? There would be no complications, there would be no crime, and life would be so very much smooth. So this is something which is difficult to achieve, but not unachievable. Well, in most of her writings, there's a universal theme which runs through all of them, and that is the belief that she believes very strongly that the essential goodness in a human being can be awakened through understanding and love. That she believes that every human being is born with a good soul. There is nothing like good soul and a bad soul, children. Everybody has the same soul. It all depends on us, how we perceive the world and how we behave and how people perceive us and how they react to us. So the lesson which we are going to do today will give you a true picture of different characters and how they behave to a particular situation. That brings about a big change in the protagonist. So this is in almost all her writings, you will find this is a theme which is prevalent in most of her writings. And of course, it is a universal theme that nobody is born good or bad. Everybody is born good. It's how we behave in a particular situation, how we give in to the situations, that brings about a change in our lives, and that makes us bad or good. This story which we are going to read is set amidst the mines of Sweden, which is rich in iron ore, and you'll find that the story and the legends of that particular area are very explicitly dealt with here in all her stories. Well, I will first start with the theme of the lesson, the title, and the setting. The theme is there very clear, and the story upholds the belief that the essential goodness of a human being can be awakened through love and understanding. This is what is a very, very true fact. And also remember, children, that the trap of a material benefit that most human beings are prone to fall upon or fall into is what we are going to talk about in this story. Now, this seems to be a little heavy for you to understand what is a trap and what is this. I mean, material benefits are important for us. Yes, we all work to achieve these material benefits, but who can understand it better today than we all? Today, all our material benefits, around us, our cars, beautiful cars, and essential items are costly clothes which we buy, branded clothes and things are of no use to us. They're all locked in our lockers. Our cars are standing there in the parking lot. We're unable to go out and enjoy them. See, this is what is life. You do not know. So what is more important is that the real quality of being connected to each other through love and understanding. We all get trapped in the baits around us, the riches, the joys, the beautiful mansions, and all these things are like baits to us because they are costly, they are baits, and they have trapped mankind. They have trapped mankind to achieve all these our ideals, go beyond our self, our good self, achieve all those things. We go wrong and all those things at time, and that is something which is wrong. So how it happens in the story, we will read it. The title rat trap, why it has been called as a rat trap? Actually, rat trap is a metaphor to highlight the human predicament. What is predicament? Our confusion of the decision, the power not to be able to decide a thing. We are in a predicament, we are in a situation, we are unable to decide, indecisive, you can say. And just as a rat, who gets trapped in the rat trap, when we put a cheese there, a pork there, or something which is very enticing for the rat, when we put it inside that, he wants to go and eat that. And that becomes, the trap falls and he gets entrapped in it. So life is also like this. We find something which is very enticing, something which is very, very lucrative, something which is a bait for us, becomes a bait for us, and we fall into that trap, just like a rat. Okay, so the story title is clear. So just as a rat is fooled by a bait, we also get trapped. And most humans are likely to fall into the trap of material benefits. So my neighbor has bought a Porsche, so I also want it. Whether I can afford it or not, immaterial. I will do by hook or crook. I'll also get another one outside my house. What do? Sometimes we resort to wrong means also, right? That means I have fallen into the trap. I have been lured. I have been attracted by the bait, right? And the setting, as I've already told you, is amidst the mines of Sweden, rich in iron ore. It is told, the whole story has been told in the manner of a fairy tale. Okay, so now I'll come to the main points of the story. I had asked you to read the story and come. I'm sure you must have read it. I have firm belief in you that you must have read the story and come. So I'll take up the main points of the story first. And before that, a list of the characters in the story so that the story is more explicit to you. First is the protagonist of the story is a peddler with rat traps. And then is an old man who is a crofter. And who is a crofter, children? A crofter is anybody who rents or owns a small farm. Especially in Sweden they say, in Scotland they say this, and You can think of any other common terms for this. You can say a small farmer or in any other language. So, but this is how in Scotland they call him as a crofter. And there is a master smith in the Ramsjö iron mills in Sweden, whose role is not very important. It's just a mention of his name is there. And helpers in the mill, the blacksmiths. There is the iron mill owner, the Ramsjö Iron Works mill owner, and Edla Wilmanson, the daughter of the iron mill owner. So we have 6 characters here in the story, with the peddler being the protagonist. You know who is the protagonist? Who is dominating the entire story. The story revolves around that character, so he becomes a protagonist. Well, now coming to the main points. First of all, remember again that the whole story underlies on the fact that the belief that goodness, essential goodness in human beings can be aroused through sympathy, understanding, and love. Children, I'd like to add one more example for you here. I gave you the example of the story of Bishop and the candlesticks. See, if two people are shouting at each other, one shouts, the other also equally shouts to put him down, and to show that he is equally has that strong voice and he can dominate. But if one speaks slowly and the one is shouting, after some time, the one who is shouting and is gradually feels, that he's on the wrong side. So he also tones down his voice. This is because the other person did not retaliate in the way he was doing it, right? So this is the impact of the love. The other person will tone down. The other person will, after some time, realize that what I'm doing is wrong, and what the other person is behaving with me in such a nice manner, I should also give back in the same manner, right? So this is what is about how we are able to arouse sympathy, understanding, and love in other people. And everybody is gifted with a goodness. Nobody is born a dacoit or as a criminal or a bad human being. It's only that we start adopting wrong things in our life, wrong behavior in our life. Well, the story is about, first we talk about the rat trap man, and I'll just deal with the first main points and then we'll go to the story, right? Once a man went around selling rat traps, but he took to begging and thievery to keep his body and soul together. What do you mean by to keep his body and soul together? That is to survive. He was very poor. He didn't have enough money even to survive. And he used to survive by selling rat traps. He used to make small rat traps, and these rat traps were also made with small iron, which was thrown by the people as a waste, as a scrap. He used to pick them up, sometimes steal them also, make those rat traps, and he used to go around and sell them. So one day, he was struck with an idea. You can understand selling rat traps is not a very lucrative business. So keeping the body and soul together was not an easy. And he would also resort to some petty thievery also at times, to survive. So, like he would keep plodding on his way, selling his rat traps, but this was not doing very, really well. So what did he do? He was a vagabond. I'll tell you about different names he has been called by, but that we'll do later on. Today, now we will first do the main points only. So what did he do was that he started moving around, selling rat traps, and he was struck with an idea one day. What was the idea? He believed that the whole world is a big rat trap. And what does it do? It offers riches as bait. He said that the whole world is like a rat trap, and all the luxurious things in this world are like those baits, are like that pork and the cheese, which is kept inside the rat trap, and we get trapped by these beautiful things. This is the idea which struck him. This struck to him. So he came up with his own philosophy. He said, we as people let ourselves to be tempted to touch the bait, and then the bait closes onto us and it brings an end to everything. Just as it happens with the rat trap. Now, how does it close on us? See, as I gave you the example of the car, the beautiful car your neighbor has bought. Likewise, what happens is when you are tempted to have something, that beautiful thing becomes your bait. And by hook or crook, by some or the other means, you want to acquire that. And what does it do? Now, because you get hooked on to that thing, you adopt any means to achieve it. And what does it happen? That means the bait has fallen on you. The trap door has fallen on you and you are trapped with the bait inside. And then all your ways, all your roads will lead only to that bait and you want to have it, right? Okay. Coming to the next part now. Shelter at Crofter's home. What does this rat trap? Next part of the story is that one dark evening, the rat trap peddler sought shelter in an old crofter's roadside cottage. He was just trudging along, moving along, walking along on the road. And one fine day, was looking for a shelter and he happened to come across an old crofter's roadside cottage. The old man, gave him food, he gave him tobacco, the cigar, freshly made cigar he gave him, and they enjoyed the game of cards together. And the crofter was very kind to him. Why he was kind, I'll discuss it later on, right? He was kind to him. And next morning, the peddler stole away, his 30 kroner notes. Why did he do this? Keep this in mind. We'll discuss it. The old man gave him food. See, he was kind to him. He gave him food. He gave him a good amount of his tobacco. He enjoyed playing card games with the rat trap man or the vagabond, you can call him. And what did he do in return? Next morning, the peddler stole his 30 kroner notes and escaped from there. And when he has escaped, he has naturally a person who has stolen something. He would like to escape and run away in a direction where nobody will be able to locate him. So what does he do? The rat trap man, when he escaped from there, he lost his way in the forest because the forest was a huge one and he got lost there. So while, it was almost night time and he was getting helpless, he was avoiding the main roads, he was hiding inside the forest, and round, wherever he went, again and again, he would land himself up, in the same place. And now he understood that those 30 kroner notes were like a bait to him. See, now he had fallen into the trap and the trap door has closed on him and there is no escape for him. Now the police is going to search for him definitely because he's not able to find a way out of the forest for him. The police will find him and he'll be back in the jail. So he understood the fact now that these 30 kroner notes were like a bait for him, right? So while he was resting there on the ground, he realized, he recollected the thought, his philosophy that I have also allowed myself to be tempted by those 30 kroner notes and my end is also near. See, this was an introspection and this was a good quality in the rat trap man. Though he got a lot of enjoyment, in thinking about that people fall into the trap, but I haven't fallen into the rat trap ever. He used to get that enjoyment, by saying again and again, it's like, the grapes are sour. When you don't get, you say, oh, I don't need them. In the same way, the rat trap man had never got an opportunity to encash on a bait. But now when he got this opportunity, he definitely fell for it. Up till now, he used to say that I don't fall for these baits. It's the people who fall for the baits, right? I have been a clean shit man up till now, and I have never fallen into these traps. But today, he had fallen into the bait, into the trap, and he lost his way in the forest. So what happened next? Let's see. Next is that when he lay his head on the ground and he heard a thumping sound, and it was coming from a distance. He could see that there was some thumping sound. Somebody is beating the iron, and he started following the thumping sound, and he reached the Ramstow Iron Works. There, it was very warm there because the blacksmith was working there. And he reached there. He requested the employee that allow me to sleep here for the night. He allowed him. He had no problem. He said, okay, fine, you can sleep in the close to the warm furnace here. And he slept there. Now, the owner of the Ramsjo Iron Works, the mill owner, he used to come on his nightly rounds, and he happened that day to notice this ragamuffin. I'm using another word for the rat trap man, ragamuffin. This is how he has been called. The ragamuffin, he seemed to be a wretched fellow sleeping close to the furnace. And in that dim light of the furnace, he was not able to see the face of the rat trap man very clearly, and he took him to be him to be as an old acquaintance of him, who was called as Nils Olaf. Now, he was very happy to see him, but at the same time, very sad to see the condition of the rat trap man. And he says that, what has happened to you? Because you left the army and the regiment, see in what situation you are today. And I had told you not to do this, and so on and on, But he tries to convince him, and he asks him that, why don't you come and stay in my house? It's almost Christmas Eve now, so you come and stay with me, and I will look for a good job for you. You're my old friend, and come to my house. But the stranger declined the offer. Now you have to think on this aspect. Why do you think the rat trap man, the tramp, declined the offer? I'll ask these questions back to you again. And the owner tried his best, but he was not able to convince the ragamuffin, and he goes away. But the mill owner there, mill worker, he knew that his master is a very kind man, and he would not give up. He would try his best to take him home. So it was hardly some time had passed that his daughter, the mill owner's daughter, Edla Wilminson, comes, and she persuades the rat trap man to come home with her. And both of them, this Edla Wilminson, the rat trap man, and the mill owner, they go home. Finally, the rat trap man gives in to Edla Wilminson. Now, what was it that made the rat trap man to agree to Edla Wilminson, but he did not agree to his to the mill owner? What was that? We'll discuss it. So she requested him to stay for the Christmas Eve. He said, you stay, please come and stay with us for Christmas Eve. Now, your children know very well that Christmas is a time when people give each other gifts, they receive gifts from each other. It is also the time to forgive people for all the wrongs which they have done to them, to forget about all our sad memories with people, and to start a fresh life. And it's a time to make up with each other, like we have it in our Hindu customs. We have our Diwali, we have our Holi. We forget about all the enmity with each other, and we start life fresh with them and start a new relationship. Likewise, she said it was Christmas time, and I want you to come home and celebrate Christmas with us. Why does she want him to come and celebrate with them? We'll do this. I'll tell you, because now I'm just telling you the hints so that you'll be able to follow the story better then. Next, what happens? The man is taken there, and at the manor house, they had a huge house, and at the manor house, the peddler thought, now a man who is guilty of something, will definitely think when some good is happening to him, he'll start wondering and he'll start finding faults in that goodness also, So what does he think? He think, have I been doing wrong? Have I been wrong in accepting her invitation? Have I thrown myself into the lion's den? What is wrong? Something is wrong here. And he starts doubting the Edla Wilminson's true efforts, her true actions. He starts doubting her because he himself was guilty. And the next day, it was late in the night now. So he, next day in the morning, the iron master, gives him a good wash and all that. But he realized that the stranger in the broad daylight, that yesterday, the previous night, it was a dim light of the furnace. He didn't happen to notice his friend very well, and he couldn't recognize him. But now in the broad daylight, the iron master realized that he had been wrong in recognizing the stranger. The stranger was not his long lost captain friend, but it was somebody else. and he threatened to call the sheriff. See how did he behave? He brought him home and now he threatens to call the sheriff. Sheriff is the police. Edla, intervenes and she tells her father, no, please don't do that. I request you not to do, and please allow him to stay with us only for the Christmas. So Christmas Eve at Ramsjo was as usual, a great celebration, and the stranger had a great time just sleeping. Why did he sleep? Because he had never been able to sleep. All these years, he had been stealing. A thief never enjoys a good sleep, children. When we do something wrong, we are so much suffering from the guilt pangs that we are unable to have a good sleep also. So he too, he knew he had done wrong. He knew he had stolen 30 kroner notes, and he felt that he has done another wrong thing by coming to this house. So he had never had a good sleep. But now when Edla brought him home, there was something about Edla's personality which gave the tramp a feeling that he is safe. So he slept. He slept and he slept. She made him understand that if he wanted rest and peace, he also can come back even the next Christmas. She extended the invitation to the next Christmas also. Now, this had a miraculous effect on him because he thought, this lady, this girl here, she doesn't doubt me at all, and she's extended the invitation. See, she's been so kind to me. And here the transition starts taking place. Let's see, is it a complete transition or not? So next morning, the family goes, not the family is not the tramp, it's not a family, remember? Family is Edla and the father. Next morning, they go to the church for the service because it is Christmas Day. And the guest, the rat trap man, sleeps in the house. At the church, they got to know that there is a rat trap peddler who has robbed an old crofter. And Edla becomes very upset. The father taunts her saying, see, I had warned you, but you insisted in bringing him home. So they reach home immediately and they learn that the peddler had already left. And the father was damn sure that he must have stolen all their silver and he must have escaped. But the guard at the gate tells him that he has not carried anything with him except for, but rather he has left a small packet for the young girl as a Christmas present. See what the father thought and what the tramp had done. Why he did this and what made him do that, we will read about it. Right, this was a briefing of the main points of the story, and we'll come to the detailings. You know now that the rat trap man definitely was able to redeem himself, and that is the reason a man who had nothing with him was able to give a gift to somebody else, right? So I have something for you here now. We are going to read the story in detail now and about the characters also side by side. You know the storyline now very well. You've understood that. Now for the minute details, we will read through this animation, children. I hope you will enjoy this also, right? First, about the rat trap seller. You must know the rat trap seller was a poverty-stricken man in life. His clothes were in rags, he had sunken cheeks, and hunger gleamed in his eyes. Shone in his eyes, The hunger was, it was clearly written on his face that he was a hungry man. He didn't have good food. He didn't have food to eat every day, right? So he resorted to begging, petty thievery, making rat traps and selling rat trap. That did not make enough money for him to live a decent life. Now, the rat trap man was also known by different names in the story. You must have heard me when I used different names for him. He was called as a rat trap seller. He was called as a tramp, a vagabond, a stranger, a peddler, and also a ragamuffin. In one instance, he's also been called as a ragamuffin. So many names he has been given, but all these names are one and the same. What is that? A man who doesn't have a house, a man who is constantly on the move, a man who is escaping from things, So he's called by these different names. Well, coming to the next one. unwanted joy of the rat trap seller. What was the joy which the rat trap seller enjoyed? You'll say he had no joy in his life. Yes, but he had one joy. And what was that? It was the entertaining thought with which he survived. What was that? He entertained himself by saying that the whole world is a big rat trap with lands and seas, cities and villages. All these things are like a bait. People's riches, people's joys, shelter, which we have, mansions, food, heat, clothing, everything is like a bait. Now you'll wonder, how are these like baits? Very simple, children. We want, if we have a small house, a small piece of land, we want a bigger land. That is a bait. We want to enjoy all the seas, all kinds of sea games, and we want to see all the different seas. We want to enjoy all the cities and villages, everything we want to enjoy. So what are these? They are like baits for us. We get trapped in them. Riches, joy, all kinds of joy. Yes. So all these things, are like a bait for us. And he said, I am the one who doesn't fall into these baits. People fall into these baits, but I have never fallen into for these baits, And this became his favorite pastime. To think in this manner, this became his most cherished pastime. And he would always get great pleasure to think of people he knew who had allowed themselves to be caught in this dangerous snare. He calls it as a word, dangerous snare. Why a snare? Because these are temptations. These are another word for bait is a snare, right? And of other people, there are many who have got caught with this snare, who have got trapped in this trap, and there are many who are circling around the bait. So this became his most cherished pastime, feeling great happiness that I have never fallen into this bait and I am living as a poor man, but I never fall into the any kind of a bait, right? So this is an important part here, children, because the joy and the confidence which he gets now is the one which is going to bring a trap for him now. His confidence is going to get punctured now. Let's see next. And the next character is, which comes after this in the story after this, is about the old crofter. Now the old crofter, I told you, had given shelter for one night to the rat trap man, right? Why did he give shelter? We don't give shelter to strangers. But why did the old crofter give shelter to the stranger? Because he himself was a lonely man, right? And when people are lonely, they look for some kind of a friendship. They go and seek out opportunities to talk to people. Like today, we are inside our homes. We're not able to meet our friends. We have the luxury of a mobile phone and Skype and so many other Zoom and so many other ways to connect with our friends, so that we can see them, meet them, talk to them, right? We are seeking out. But this poor crofter didn't have all these things in those days, He was all alone. He was without his wife and children. And when somebody knocked at his door, he was more than happy to welcome the rat trap seller, and he served him. He saw he was hungry, so he served. He rather shared. I wouldn't say use the word served. He rather shared his supper of porridge. So sharing is different. Sharing is when you have something with you and that you're giving it to somebody, knowing very well this is all you have. That's actually real sharing. To give away a part of something which actually is totally yours, and you give it to somebody else because other person is also in need. Many of you must be sharing so many things of your pleasure with so many needy people today. You must be doing some kind of a philanthropic act nowadays. I'm sure you must be doing that. So this man also, he gives a part of his supper to him and a good share of it, Also, he shared with him his freshly made cigar and gives him a good amount of the tobacco, and he played a game of Jollis. What is that? A card game. That is how we call it in a Swedish language. So why did he do this? Why did the crofter do this? Why was he so generous? See, not only was he generous with his food, with the food, and giving him shelter and the tobacco and playing game with him, but he was generous with confidences too. What is that? What do you mean by this confidence? See, we don't share our secrets, our family secrets with anybody else, and that too never with a stranger. So he very generously, openly, open-heartedly, because he was all alone, he wanted somebody to talk to. And when he saw the rat trap man, he very confidently shared his secrets with him. What did he say? He said that I am supported by a cow. My bossy gives a good amount of money. She gives good amount of milk, which I sell it in the market. And last month, I got 30 kroners from that, right? And not only that, he also showed him those crinkling 30 kroner notes. Kroner is a currency of Sweden in those days. He also showed him those notes, and where was the note kept? It was kept on the on inside a bag on a window, right? Hanging on a window nail. Now, why did he show him? What was the need to show? He could have just told him also. Because somewhere the rat trap man, who had never seen such a huge amount of money, I mean, it's not a big amount, but for the rat trap man, it was a big amount. He had never seen this much of money, and perhaps the stranger, that is the rat trap man, appeared to be a little incredulous. He expressed, something, a look of suspicion or disbelief. So to make him believe, the crofter brought that bag down from the window, hanging on the window there, and he showed him those 10 kroner notes, 10 kroner notes, and he showed it to the rat trap man. Now, imagine showing his wealth to somebody and showing him the place where his money was kept, right? This was the old crofter. Very true, very honest, looking for somebody to talk to. So there is a theme of loneliness also underlying in the story, children, right? So first, we have talked about the rat trap man. He himself was lonely, all alone. And now we have come to the loneliness theme also of the old crofter. Though the theme is not very dominant, but the underlying theme definitely is also loneliness. Because you'll find the other characters in the story are also very lonely. Right? Next character. Any guesses? Who's the character? Any guesses? No, I will not disclose that now, later on. I'll move to the next part of the story now. The rat trap man, he, just a minute, children. The rat trap man was, lured by these notes which he saw. What did he do? He steals the money, right? And how did he steal it? When early next morning, the crofter goes on his work. He also gets up with him because he didn't want to be lying on the bed when the host has gone. The guest has to get up and go. So he also walked out. The host went on his own way. The crofter went on his way of work, but the stranger, that is the rat trap man, returned back to the house, smashed the window pane, and what did he do? What did he do? He stole the money and he ran away from there. And when he ran away, he started hiding in the forest. He got lost in that big, confusing forest. He did not want to take the main path. Why? Because he feared that the police might catch hold of him. They would be on the lookout. So he started walking inside the forest. And there were strange paths, all twisted and forth. He couldn't find a way out. The whole forest was like an impenetrable prison for him. And he could not find a way out. It is then, when it was night time, he understood that he had been fooled. He got fooled. He himself had got fooled. And he had been caught by the bait of the notes. And thus, this man who had been so proud that I have never fallen into this trap, now was a part of this trap now. And his despair and gloom started increasing. So what did he do? he was lying there, and I told you in the story that he hears a thumping sound of a Ramsjo Iron Works somewhere close by. He didn't know it was Ramsjo Iron Works. After reaching there, he got to know. He heard the sound, just as when we put our ears on a railway track, we can easily guess that a train is on its way. We can hear the sound of the vibrations. In the same way, when he put his ears to the floor, ground, he heard the thumping sound. So he knew that somewhere close by, there is some factory which is there. So what is this Ramsjo Iron Works? It is a large plant where the process of smelter, rolling mill, and forge is there. Children, I took up this part here in 3 slides because the author has dealt with this Ramsjo Iron Works in a very elaborate way in 2 or 3 paragraphs. So I want you to know how it actually works. So it's a large plant where the iron ore is melted. It's a rolling mill, and then the pig iron is put in the furnace, and it is then there are the different processes of smelting, rolling, and forging, which you must have read in your science classes as well. How the process takes place. So it was a huge iron works. And you know what smelting is a process of applying heat to ore in order to extract a base metal. In the beginning, I had told you that because Sweden has large reserves of iron ore, and hence in most of the stories from Sweden, you'll find there is a mention of the iron works there about the smelting, rolling, forging part in all the stories. So the author here has also mentioned the entire process elaborately, what is smelting, rolling, and forging. So I think you know all this. Just to give you an idea, so I don't miss out on every paragraph. So I have dealt with this particular part as well. So I think I can move on with this particular part next. So the iron that day, the peddler goes, and he finally is able to look for the iron works. He goes there. He requests a blacksmith over there and asks his permission, as I told you earlier. But when he goes and sleeps there, like every other day, the iron master of that mill, comes to the mill. Now, why would an iron master come to his mill in the dead of the night? Because the iron master was a man who was very particular about the kind of iron which was produced in his factory. He was very particular about that. And he took with great precision, he saw to it that his people, his employees did good work. So he would often visit in the night, and check on the quality of the iron which was made. So on one of his such particular rounds, he comes there and he finds the iron master finds that the peddler is sleeping there. When he sees him in the dead of the night and in the low light of the furnace, he mistakes the tramp to be his regimental comrade, who happened to be by the name of Nils Olof. So when the iron master arrives, he sees the tramp, and he mistakes the tramp to be his regimental comrade called as Nils Olof. Now, this Nils Olof, he tells him that I know that you must have gone through, you have left the army, you're no longer in the army, and that is the reason that you have fallen into bad days. And I also am not a part of it now, but I can see that you are going through really bad times. But don't worry, friend, I'll be there to help you. And you come to my home. He invited him to his manor house, and he says, you come to my home, and first of all, I would like to see that you are in a good physical state. You look so very weak now and emaciated. So you come home, and then we will think about some job for you. But the vagabond refused. Why did he refuse? He's getting a good chance to go to somebody's house. Why did he refuse? He refused that, thinking that it would be like voluntarily throwing himself into the lion's den. He was worried about the 30 kroner. Why? Because he had stolen the money and he knew he was wrong. He thought in the morning, the iron master is definitely going to, or maybe if he recognizes me, Even if he hasn't recognized me, or if he recognizes me later on, he may throw me into the prison. He may call the sheriff. So he said, and I'm not going to go to your house. He refused. See, children, he was guilty here. So he did not take advantage of that situation. So this was his second bait, which God gifted him with the second gate. Sorry. He could have fallen for the second bait, but he did not. Up till now, he has not. He refused. This he refused because it was his own interest here. If he would have gone with the Iron Master, he thinks that if I go with the Iron Master, it is like throwing myself into the lions, then putting myself into great trouble. So he did not. Let us see what he did then. It is then that the Iron Master goes back home, but the blacksmith knew that my master is definitely going to come back. My master is such a kind man that he would not allow his friend to stay like this, and that too in such a bad shape. So he comes back, he goes home, but his daughter, Edla Wilminson, she comes in a huge carriage to take the peddler. So what does she do? She asks the peddler, and let's see what happens. When she sees Edla, when she sees the rat trap man, she she tries to take control of the situation, because the man has refused to the father, so he would not willingly agree to her. But you'll find here there's a marked difference between the father and the daughter. When Edla goes to the rat trap man there, in the darkness also, she is able to observe and read the peddler very well. She lifts the cap which he was wearing. He had covered his face with a cap. She lifts the hat and she observes that the man had a look of fear in his eyes, right? And immediately she was able to understand what? That this man has either stolen something or he has escaped from the jail. See, women are always gifted with a very powerful sixth sense. This is a gift from God to them. They have a very good intuitive power. So she was able to read the eyes of the peddler, right? And she was able to read what was going on in the mind or what kind of a person the rat trap man was. But the best part was that she did not reveal this to the rat trap man, that you are a thief or you have done something wrong and you have escaped from the jail, or maybe you are a criminal. She doesn't reveal anything. See, this is what is the goodness of Edla. I wanted to show you this, that how she was able to hide her true feelings from the rat trap man, which the father was not able to. In the next slide, you'll find the father was not able to hide that. The father, later on, the father was very annoyed with the rat trap man, rather. But she hides her feelings, convinces him, and takes him home. So, what was that which made the rat trap man to go along with Edla and not with the mill owner? It was just one statement which she made. And what was that statement? She said that it is Christmas time and I want you to come and enjoy Christmas with us. We have been enjoying all Christmas, or we have been celebrating all Christmases all alone. So I want you to come and stay with us for this Christmas. And most important line, children, she said that you can walk out of our home whenever you want to. We will not stop you. This line had a great impact and built the confidence of the rat trap man. The rat trap man thought that this lady I can play safe with the lady and she is not going to put me into any kind of a trouble. So he walked with the girl to the manor house. See the difference between the two personalities. Father called him as a friend, but was not able to convince. Whereas one statement of Edla Wilminson brought about a big change in the rat trap man. So it's the manner, it's the love with which She did not express what she had read in his eyes. Rather, she said that you can be very sure to walk away, to leave us just as freely as you come. So the rat trap man now thought that she is not going to put me into any kind of a trouble, and she requests him to come and celebrate the Christmas Eve and the Christmas with them. This built the confidence in him, as per the Edla, and he walks with her to the manor house. Now, I'll just take up one slide this, and I'll not reveal what happened later on. She says, I'm sorry, Captain, that you are really having a hard time. So please stay with us over Christmas Eve, and you'll be allowed to leave us just as freely as you came. See, this particular line, had an impact on the rat trap man, right? Her friendly manner gave confidence to the rat trap peddler. And it never, he thinks, the rat trap man thinks here, it never occurred to me that you would bother with me yourself. I will come at once. This is what melted his heart. And up till now, he was doubting on the Iron Master's genuinity of inviting him to his house. But that doubt now completely melted away, and he showed entire confidence on Edla. What happened next, children, we will do in the next class, and I'll stop here now. But I want you to go home and read this much of the story at least, or read the entire story. I'm sure you will not be able to put down your books if you haven't read up till now. Read the story, and we will talk about the remaining part. Also, I will give you the character sketches of all the characters, and we'll discuss the important questions as well. I hope you enjoyed the story. Think about any other such story which you have read about redemption, and do share with us. You can record it, and you can also send me as to how you have ever had an experience of redemption. You can record it and send it to me on my personal inbox, and let me see how many of you will be honest enough to share it with us, right? Thank you so much, children, and have a nice day. Thank you.